Today, we're diving into Markham's storm petrel, a seabird that inhabits the Pacific Ocean, particularly around Peru, Chile, and Ecuador. Can you start by explaining what makes this species unique in terms of its taxonomy?
Definitely. Markham's storm petrel, scientifically known as Hydrobates markhami, was first described in 1883. It's interesting because it was previously classified under the genus Oceanodroma before genetic studies prompted a reclassification to hydrobates. This demonstrates how evolutionary relationships can shift as new data comes to light.
That's fascinating. I read that this bird has some specific physical characteristics. Can you describe its appearance and how it differentiates from similar species?
Sure. Markham's storm petrel is a large, slender bird with a wingspan of about 49 to 54 centimeters. Its plumage is mostly black to sooty brown, with a distinct grayish bar across the wings. It closely resembles the black storm petrel, but you can distinguish it by its shorter tarsus and the more pronounced gray wing bar.
What about their nesting habits? I understand that their colonies were only identified relatively recently.
Yes, that's correct. The first colony was reported in 1993 in Peru. Markham's storm petrel nests in natural cavities within salt crusts in the Atacama Desert. They generally lay one egg per season on bare ground. What's really intriguing is that these birds are colonial breeders, yet their breeding timing can vary significantly between colonies.
That variation is quite interesting. Do researchers know what causes these differences in breeding times?
Not entirely. Current hypotheses suggest environmental factors could be involved, but there's no definitive answer yet. It raises questions about how adaptable this species is to changing conditions, especially considering their near-threatened status.
Speaking of threats, what are the primary factors contributing to their decline?
The main threats include habitat destruction from saltpeter mining and significant light pollution from surrounding areas. These fledglings can be particularly impacted by artificial lights during their first flights, leading to collisions or getting lost.
That's alarming. And with an estimated decline of around 20,000 fledglings each year due to these issues, what's being done to help conserve this species?
There are several conservation efforts underway, primarily funded by organizations like the American Bird Conservancy. Strategies include protecting breeding colonies, regulating industrial developments, and decreasing light pollution. However, the legislative framework in places like Chile is criticized for being insufficient.
Given that they feed on a diverse diet, including fish and cephalopods, how does their foraging behavior differ from other storm petrels?
Markham's storm petrel has a relatively low dietary diversity compared to other petrels. They tend to scavenge opportunistically near the ocean's surface. Their foraging patterns replicate some of their relatives, but are distinctly tailored to the habitats they frequent, like cooler, saltier surface waters.
With such specific habitat requirements, how is climate change impacting them?
Climate change poses a significant risk, particularly because their breeding habitats rely on saltpeter deposits, which are limited. Modeling studies predict serious reductions in suitable breeding areas due to temperature changes by 2080, compounded by the habitat loss from human activities.
Yikes, that sounds dire. What can listeners do to contribute to the conservation of Markham's storm petrel?
Supporting organizations focused on seabird conservation is vital. Awareness campaigns can also help to reduce light pollution. Individuals can make conscious efforts to ensure their outdoor lights are shielded during fledgling season.
That's practical advice. Finally, what's the outlook for Markham's storm petrel given the current conservation efforts?
The outlook is cautiously optimistic, provided there are significant strides in conservation management and a better understanding of their ecology is achieved. Continuous research and monitoring of their populations and breeding habits will be essential to ensuring their survival.
Thanks for this insightful discussion on Markham's storm petrel. It's crucial we keep these conversations alive so we can foster awareness and action.